Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in. Pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Hey, howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, incredibly enough, thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the editor-in-chief, as well as the founder of thegaminggang.com. So welcome aboard. Tonight is Wednesday, July 12th, 2023. This is live stream 943. I think it's 43. Pretty sure. Yeah, pretty sure it's 943. As you can see, the show's super casual. We're not engaging in rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. So we're just hanging out talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news. And we'll normally take a first look at a game. And that will be the case tonight because it is another War Game Wednesday here on the Dispatch, as we are going to dive on into The British Way from GMT Games. This is the latest in the Coin series. In fact, there are two titles which just came out for Coin, and we will be taking a look at, I want to say the other is Power for the People, Power of the People. It's about the Philippines. We will be taking a look at that in a few weeks, but right now we are going to be diving in tonight into The British Way. So stay tuned for that. Do want to mention, I'm not sure if there's something wrong with chat or not tonight. I'm going to try to do it again. Okay, it looks like it may have worked this time. I was trying to say, hey, happy Wednesday, everybody, and kept coming back as an error. I was like, I have never seen that happen before. So I thought for a second, hey, is chat not going to be working tonight? But I think it will be working. It looks like it did take it that time. So anyway, if you are tuning in live, so you can check out the unboxing and first look at The British Way, let me point out, if you're not familiar with the show, we do tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So it'll probably be about 40 minutes or so before we jump into that unboxing. So if you are watching live, just kick back, put your feet up, relax. It's hump day. Come on, you're halfway to the weekend. Enjoy yourself. Now, if you happen to be watching this 30 minutes or more after the show stream ends, there will be timestamps. So you'll be able to jump ahead past tabletop gaming news if you have to. If you're impatient, you just got to get to the unboxing, because I've got some cool news items, as I usually do. But if you're impatient, you just use those timestamps to jump ahead. Now, of course, those timestamps are located in the show notes, or depending on what device you might be watching this on, could be right there in the timeline of the video. You understand what's going on. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you will not encounter here on the YouTube channel. Come on, you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Lastly, this is a live stream, so that means there is chat available as long as it's working. But you do have to be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours in order to take part in chat. A couple of ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. But if you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, maybe there's something about the British way you'd like to get a closer look at, by all means, chime in. I will do my best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Kathy Evans. William Aarons is with us, as is our good friend, the Madman. Yes, the Madman is with us, the first of our chat moderators to pop on in. Good to see you. So, been a very strange past couple of hours here in the Yorkville area. We've had storms all day long. Oh, Rob German, there you go. Tornado warning out there. Hi, Rob. Yes, we did. In fact, up to, I want to say it was maybe 6:10 our time. The sirens were going off. So, of course, I was peeking around. But then, strangely enough, checking out the local news, the storm front that had seen a tornado in the midst of it was already past us by, I don't know, 20 miles. So, yes, we did have the tornado warnings out here. Rob says, yeah, they're headed to the basement now. Oh, my gosh. So I am hoping that everything is all good in your neck of the woods. Kabuki Kid is with us as well in chat. So welcome, everybody. So we're going to jump on into the news because, as I mentioned, I'm sure there are some folks out there who are like, come on, Jeff, we want to take a look at the British way. This summer is going to see the release of the North American edition of Tricada. Taking a guess on the pronunciation there. It could be Tricada, it could be Tricada. I think it's Tricada. It is from Deep Print Games and Pegasus Spiele. Here's the lowdown. The set collection game by designers Rolf Zurlinde and Stefan Dora will be available soon. And the fine folks over at Deep Print Games can't wait for you to try it out. Tricada, let's go with that. Tricada is a set collecting game for 2 to 5 players. Over 4 engaging rounds, players will draft animal tokens, trying to form a set of 3 for each animal type. 3 tokens of the same type form a Tricada. In each round, you and the other players draw animal tokens and place them in multiple rows. Find the perfect moment to grab your favorite row, or you might be stuck with one you do not want. At the end of the game, you score especially well for your Tricadas. But be careful. More than 3 tokens of the same type, and you will lose points instead. Tricada is for 2 to 5 players, ages 7 and up. Plays in around 20 to 30 minutes, and it's going to carry an MSRP of $29.99 when it arrives in stores in August. Gotta say, I like these tokens. These tokens look pretty cool. The little animals on them, and it looks like they have different point values. So I think you score those points if you have 3 of them in that Tricada. But yeah, very cool. I like that. And pretty nice price point for a family-friendly game with what looks to be some pretty cool components. Kevin R. Smith is with us. So Rob says, yeah, they're in the Chicago metro area and city. Yes, it was heading that way when I was coming down here into the Duct Tape Studios to prep for the show. So yes, hopefully, maybe we'll be keeping you company here with the stream while you're waiting it out in the basement. Once we wrap up the news, I will share a quick kind of tornado story with you. I've got a few things that I'm going to chat about today after the news. Kabuki Kid says the duct tape storm shelter. Yes, it would be. This is where we would like like hunker down, I guess I would say, in the case of a tornado. Because honestly, these days you really don't want to climb into a bathtub. I'll talk about that too. Moon right along next month brings the prepared. Wait a second. No, that's not correct. I tell you. See that oddball tornado warning threw me off because I had a news piece for Renegade Game Studios and Diplomacy, which is coming out from them. And of course, like a doofus, I did not add it to the teleprompter. Hey, I've got an excuse, right? We were concerned that there was a tornado coming. Anyway, I do actually have access to the news piece because I've got it ready for publication on thegaminggang.com. So here it is. At the turn of the 20th century, prior to World War I, the seven great European powers are engaged in an intricate struggle for supremacy. Each power's military forces invade and defend and withdraw, shifting borders and altering empires with subtle maneuvers and daring gambits. Alliances are formed and trust is betrayed as players negotiate and outwit one another in a delicate balance of cooperation and competition to gain dominance of the continent. Diplomacy challenges players to rely on their own cunning. I've got a cunning plan, me lord. And cleverness, not dice, to determine the outcome of this game of conspiracies and conquest. I don't know if I'd consider it conspiracies. I would say agreements and broken agreements, right? It's a game of diplomacy. Anyway, diplomacy is for 2 to 7 players. Although, to be honest, I have played diplomacy many times in my life. I would not play it with 2 players. I probably wouldn't play it with fewer than 4. Just me. Just me. It's for ages 12 and up, plays in around 4 hours. And it's going to be carrying an MSRP of $45 as it makes its way into stores this week. In fact, I believe it's supposed to be released tomorrow. I think, which is kind of strange. Usually don't have game releases on Thursdays, but I guess that's supposed to be the case. Kevin R. Smith says, how can you have alliances with only 2 players? You've betrayed me. You promised you would do. I mean, I guess you could see 2 players playing it, but you really lose all the things that make diplomacy. And yes, this is a lot of stories out there about people who, friendships have been destroyed by this game. As long as everybody knows going into the game that, yes, you are going to screw over people that you agree to do things for, then nobody gets upset. Actually, it's a very cool game. I am hoping that some of the weird little aspects of diplomacy that no one has ever put in an official stamp on what the correct answer would be. I hope those things are addressed. And it's kind of cool to see Renegade Game Studios actually releasing some Avalon Hill games. I am supposed to be taking part in the special press night that Renegade Game Studios is going to be having at Gen Con I'm going to get a closer look at diplomacy, as well as Axis and Allies 1914 and some other games as well. So, and of course, we know that Renegade Game Studios has all of those RPGs that have recently hit as well. Moving right along. So, Kabuki Kiddo says this is a game that really wants exactly 7 players. I agree. I would agree with you on that. Kabuki Kid also points out the lowest player count they ever played with was 6. And wow, they've got some crazy memories of into the late night diplomacy games. Yes, I have many fond memories of into the early morning diplomacy games. I decided I would also share an image of the old Avalon Hill box that I remember having. In fact, there were quite a few of us, my friends, who owned diplomacy. So it was a game that a lot of us had copies of. All right, now on to the next news piece, because next month is going to bring the Prepared Expanded Collection hardcover from Kobold Press for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Here's the latest. So your players went off on a tangent. Never fear. The Prepared Expanded Collection offers short, one-shot adventures to keep the game rolling and players entertained while you figure out your next move. Inside, you'll find 31 easy prep adventures for every environment, ranging from levels 1 to 15, ready to use in any fantasy campaign setting. This collection includes 12 adventures originally published in Prepared, 12 adventures originally published in Prepared 2, 6 new adventures never before seen in print. So obviously they were available in PDF. Plus a brand new adventure which is created specifically for this collection. There's also full color maps, fantastic scenarios, memorable NPCs, and much more. Never be caught without a plot again. The 128-page hardcover will carry an MSRP of $39.99 when it hits stores on August 16th. Very nice. I am going to take a guess. I will probably have an opportunity to take a peek at this. And as you already know, I am a fan of just about all things Kobold Press. Really, really enjoy their releases. So the man's talking about diplomacy. No, I won't double cross you. Trust me. Kevin points out they had never played it, but they assume if everybody has a sense of game theory and builds in contingency plans for double crosses, everything should be fine. I mean, as far as people having hurt feelings and that, yeah, you're okay. But there are a lot of times where you've got like a big game plan all built in diplomacy, and somebody goes, oh yeah, I'll support your attack. And then they don't. And then you're like, oh, everything's falling apart now. It is a very unique gaming experience, I must say. 245 Trioxin is with us in chat. All right, so this next news piece, pretty big news piece. It actually popped yesterday, but I already had my news all set and good to go. And I also had a news piece from Modiphius Entertainment. So I don't usually double dip with news pieces. So I am sharing this news today, but personally, I think this is a pretty big announcement because there is a solo edition of the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game that's on the very near horizon, and it's going to be called Captain's Log. Captain's Log, stardate 48714.6. Explore strange new worlds, seek out new life and new civilizations, and boldly go where no Star Trek role-playing game has gone before. Take the con in your own Star Trek stories as Modiphius Entertainment opens pre-orders for the Captain's Log solo role-playing game, launching into the solo role-playing game frontier, where you can become a legendary captain of your own starship. This 326-page, full-color, standalone, digest-sized rulebook provides a complete, streamlined version of the award-winning 2D20 system used for the Star Trek Adventures role-playing game to create your own Star Trek stories with a dynamic captain. Yes, I'm dynamic, aren't I? That you create. Write your own captain's log as you, your ship, and your crew venture into the cosmos alone, conducting galaxy-spanning missions and recording your progress. The solo role-playing game uses the award-winning rules of Star Trek Adventures to give a unique gameplay style, letting Star Trek fans record their own captain's logs for the first time. Players can create or randomly generate their missions without a game master, decide on the actions their crew will take to complete it, and a vibrant story will emerge as success or failure provides unexpected twists and turns while exploring strange new worlds and discovering new life and civilizations. The game also allows captains to play cooperatively with friends as their senior staff, or explore the final frontier with a game master, facilitating their adventures. Game masters of existing Star Trek Adventure campaigns can also use the 100 plus random tables contained in Captain's Log to generate countless hours of memorable adventures in the Star Trek universe. I don't know if randomly generated adventures become memorable. Just me. Not knocking the product, but I don't know. Play in any era of Star Trek from the 21st century to the 32nd century and choose from a selection of unique cover designs featuring the comm badges from each series. Well, not every series, but 4 of them. The 326-page Star Trek Adventures Captain's Log solo role-playing game, say that 5 times fast, can be pre-ordered for $39.52, which will score you the PDF supposedly immediately. The actual physical books are slated to begin shipping in early August. I will take a guess. This is probably going to be something that will be seen at Gen Con. So I have requested a copy of the Next Generation book. So because that's my favorite Trek. What can I say? It's my favorite. So very, very interesting. So it's a digest-sized book, but I'm not sure if it's a hardcover or not. It looks like it is from the mock-ups that we're looking at. It looks like it is a hardcover book. Not positive. Price-wise, yeah, it's right in the ballpark, I guess, for a digest-sized hardcover. Don't know. Do not know, but this looks very, very interesting. Scott B. Smith is hanging with the gang, asking, I wonder what sort of Star Trek adventures might be had in the 21st century. Eugenics war stuff? I know, it was kind of like, I don't, wait, was Enterprise wasn't 21st century, though. Wasn't Enterprise 22nd? I liked Enterprise. I know there were people out there who were like, I thought it was all right. I liked it better than Voyager. I only watched a few episodes of Voyager and I tuned out on that. I was like, yeah, it's not, yeah. So pretty cool. Pretty cool. I will look forward to checking this out. And of course, I will be bringing you a first look video if and when this happens to show up. All right, my final news piece. There is a new adventure which has arrived for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Yes, I know. We were just taking a look at Solzenmund for Wifrip last night. Anyway, this new adventure has arrived from Cubicle 7 Entertainment, and I've got the skinny on Old World Adventures Forest of Hate. A plague is affecting settlements in the eastern Lorne, I guess it's Laurel forest. Shaylin, prayers have proven ineffective and herbal remedies are scarce. If the Empire's heroes cannot discover a way to contain this plague, Norland's logging industry will collapse as war and chaos devastate the Lorne. Forest of Hate is an exciting action investigative adventure aimed at experienced characters in the second or third tier of their careers. Characters will face up against disease, discrimination, and superstition as they explore the beleaguered forest towns. A terrified populace, a group of nefarious woodsmen. Damn you, nefarious woodsmen! Ancient elven ruins and more await as characters attempt to uncover and ultimately thwart the machinations of the ruinous powers from corrupting the Laurelorn. An ideal standalone adventure, Forest of Hate can be easily incorporated into existing Wifrip campaigns. Alternatively, it makes an ideal precursor for players looking to explore the Laurelorn Forest campaigns from Archives of the Empire, Volume 1. This 45-page PDF is available right now over at DriveThruRPG for $8.99. Sweet. Very, very nice. Always happy to see more adventures for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Always warms the cockles of my heart. So sweet. So that is available. And you notice the focus is shifting. We talked about this a little bit last night. The focus for the Warhammer Fantasy role-playing adventures are shifting away from more established areas of the old world, say like Middenheim. And it is going in a different direction, going north. Like we've got the, I want to say it's Lustria. I know it's out in PDF. It's not out in physical copy yet, but that's like all the way across the Sea of Claws. So very cool to see that. And I'm a big fan of Wifrip. I really am. I really enjoy it. And I enjoy just reading this stuff because it's always got a little bit of a kind of sense of humor to it. It's not that it doesn't take itself seriously, but it does have some, some humor in the foibles of the characters, I guess we would say. All right. So Kabuki Kid says 2151, 2161 is when Enterprise was supposed to have taken place. So there you go. So yeah, so it was the 22nd century. Rob German says never met a Star Trek they did not like. I can't say I disliked any. I have a friend of mine out in Phoenix who keeps telling me that I've got to watch Deep Space Nine, but I got to get past the first 2 seasons, and then it gets really good. And it's like, well, I remember watching most of the first season, and it was fine. It just wasn't like appointment TV, where it's like, oh man, Next Generation's on. We had it on Sundays. I don't know where it was, around the country, but in the Chicago area, we had it on Sunday nights. And it'd be like, oh, well, got to get home because Next Generation's on at 9. I think it was 9. Be like, yep, see ya. It was funny. My fiance at the time used to call, she always said it's Mr. Dana It's not. We would be like, no, it's Data. And she always would forget his name. She'd be like, oh, yeah, that Mr. Dana. It's like, no, it's Data. Roger says DS9 was quite good as a whole. So Scott says, I hope it's not season 2 Picard related stuff. Ick. Yeah, I didn't even finish watching that. It was like, first of all, I thought season 1 was meh. And I started watching season 2, and I think I got like 4 episodes in, and I was like, just not doing it. Just not doing it. All righty. So Kevin says it got better when it started more blatantly ripping off Babylon 5. I got to be honest. I think I watched 4 or 5 episodes of Babylon 5, could not get into it. So when it first premiered, I checked it out, and it was like, I think part of it was special effects. Because in my opinion, I thought those special effects were not too hot. So I don't know. But once again, it was probably a show that it was like, oh, there you go. Kabuki Kid says season 1 of Babylon 5 is not the strongest. But I was just about to say, once again, it's probably one of those shows where you needed to watch so many episodes. That's why whenever I start watching anything like nowadays, where you got like 10 episodes or something like that, if I don't see potential within the first 3 episodes, I'm out. But I will stick with the show if it's just it's all right. But I feel like it's got something that we might see develop over the next few episodes or whatever. So, real quick, speaking of Babylon 5, there is an animated movie coming out for Babylon 5. Don't know if you Babylon 5 fans out there are aware of that. There is a panel at San Diego Comic-Con that I can request to be part of to cover for the press. So I personally have no interest in it. But those of you in chat, if you're kind of curious about that, let me know. Should point out, though, I think SAG, the Screen Actors Guild, Screen Actors Guild, is supposed to be deciding in the next few days if they are going to strike. Now, I know they had voted it down. Well, they didn't vote not to strike. They voted to hold off on striking. I think that was like 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago. Supposed to be kicking that around again. And if that were the case, if they do strike, then I would take a guess that panel is off because that panel includes the cast, a lot of the cast from Babylon 5, like Bruce Boxleitner and Bill Mumy or Mummy. I don't know. I hear people pronounce his name 2 different ways. Bill Mummy, Billy Mummy, right? And then Moomy. So it's like, okay, I'll just say Will Robinson, the original Will Robinson. So anyway, so let's see. Kevin says that some of their friends and he were discussing the trailer. I haven't seen it, and critiquing the animation style. And Kabuki Kid says the B5 movie that is sort of a prequel to the pilot that came later is actually the best way to start watching the show. Cool. Scott B. Smith points out that they are not a fan of the animation style either that they're using for the movie. Well, okay. And Kabuki Kid mentions that Babylon 5 movie. I remember that. I didn't watch it, but I remember it did come out during the show's run, didn't it? I thought it did. I don't know. Anyway, I know Chekhov, Walter Koenig was a character in it, an actor, I should say, in it for some episodes. All right, cool. Anyway, so I wanted to float that out, kind of segueing from the discussion of Babylon 5. So, two other things, real quick, I wanted to talk about. Well, I guess I should say I was previously talking about the new adventure that's available for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay at Drive-Thru RPG. And of course, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit Drive-Thru RPG or Dungeon Masters Guild, Storyteller's Vault, what have you, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a small portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do add up and help keep thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, on top of giving it a thumbs up, if you like this video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can always stop by paypal.me/gaminggang to make a small donation. And the Madman, as well as Roger Perdome, have recently stopped by paypal.me and made not so small donations. So big thank you to both of them. Big thank you to everybody out there who either utilizes the banner ads and or visits paypal.me/thegaminggang. Thank you very, very kindly. Lastly, as far as that goes, this is the last week of the summer game sale for the Gaming Gang to help support the Gaming Gang. And there are plenty of new and gently used games which are still available. Do want to point out much of what I don't sell in this last week is going to go into the auction at this year's Gen Con. So want to point that out. Agent Especial and Kevin King are hanging with us tonight. Welcome aboard. And it looks as if Rob German is getting out of the basement. So thankfully, the tornado warning or whatever, I guess it would be, it's not tornado watch. I guess it is a tornado warning because it had been spotted at some point. That's why the sirens go off, is a spotter has seen something developing. But good to hear that they are climbing on out of the basement. Okay, anyway, two quick things I was going to talk about. One, I'm starting to make my plans for Gen Con. So I want to let you know who I'm lining up interviews with or have already lined up interviews with. And we're looking at Cubicle 7 Entertainment, Free League Publishing. I have reached out to Wolfgang Bauer over at Kobold Press. So hopefully get something going on there. I am going to take part in the Renegade Game Studios press night. I might talk to the Op Games. I was supposed to talk to them last year, and the person they had was actually, she was really rude to me. So I left. Yeah, I'm kind of like that. Yeah, Elliot was like, yeah, as soon as that was going down, I mean, she was just rude to me, like, get ready, here comes an F-bomb. I had an appointment scheduled for an interview, and she was a young woman, and maybe she was just having a bad day, or maybe it was her first Gen Con and she was just overwhelmed. But her attitude was sort of like, who the fuck are you? What do you want? And it was like, she didn't say that, but I mean, that was like, you get that vibe. Like, oh, who's this asshole? Is he looking for free games or something? And I was like, I have an appointment scheduled. And she's like, oh, well, I don't know where so-and-so is. I'll try to track them down. I was like, yeah, okay, you do that. And I looked at Elliot, he looked at me, and I'm like, so I walked off. I was like, F this, let's go. And he's like, oh, I knew you were going to do that. Because it's funny the way I look at it. I know there are companies out there who their attitude is, you know what? You're lucky we're giving you time to talk to us. And it's kind of like, you do realize that this is promoting your products, right? It's doing nothing for me, right? Okay, maybe a little bit if it's something that people are like excited to see. Yeah, okay. Yeah, then it is doing something for me, but it's far more, you know, a one-way street. So, but yeah, that was kind of funny. But yes, it's like whatever. It looks like it's a different person that's doing the interview. So yeah, I was like, okay, they sent a blanket email out, inviting people, and I was like, yeah, that's cool. Like I said, young woman could have been having a really bad day. I don't know, but I live by a creed, which is, if you have a problem, I understand, but don't make it my problem. That is a famous Jeffism for decades. You may have a problem. It's all right. Don't make it my problem. Anyway, so we've got that cooking. If there's anybody you would like to see me try to set up interviews with to learn more about their products and that at Gen Con, let me know in the comment section. And I will do my best to do that. So Kabuki Kid says, yeah, you got to stay professional when you're representing a brand. Kabuki Kid says, are you down with OP? The op? Yeah, I've reviewed some stuff from them before. We covered them more when they were USAopoly. That's why I called him the op. I'm not positive if it's not the OP, but I always say the op because they were USAopoly. So anyway, so we have that. And then the last thing I was going to talk about, I was going to share a real quick kind of tornado-ish related item. And I remember a few years ago, I was spending the night over at Elliot's house because we were leaving first thing in the morning to go to Origins. And I got over there and the weather was awful. And I got over there and I was there for about an hour. And it was probably 8, 9 o'clock. Well, I think it was like 9 or 10 because it had gotten dark. And all of a sudden, tornado sirens start going off, power goes out. You're like, oh, shit. Please. Of course, we're down in the basement. And he has like a finished basement. So we were all down there and we had the emergency radio on. It was a little tense for a bit because you could tell the wind had really picked up because the rain was just like slamming into the windows. It was kind of like we're listening for that train sound. We don't want to hear the train sound. So that is and I have actually seen tornadoes in the distance. If you remember, I delivered RVs all around the country. So yes, I have seen tornadoes, and I have been relatively close to some. But that story of we're going to Origins tomorrow. If we live through this, kind of jumps out whenever there's a tornado warning or something like that. Kubuki Kid says never saw one of those in person. So Agent Especial says, Twister. Yes, the Twisters. All right. So we're going to be diving on into the British way from GMT Games in just a few moments. But first, it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
Boys, bring your ghoul friend. Gals, line up your boy fiend. Everyone bring plenty of company, because you'll shiver, you'll shudder, you'll cringe in terror when you see our Screaming Mimi show. It's horrific. So heart-stopping, we're almost afraid to let you see it. However, we have seatbelts for cowards. If a vampire asks for blood, just say, "You gay."
I've got 5 aces. Can you beat that? I've got a can of Wilkins coffee. Nothing beats Wilkins.
It's intermission time, folks.
World of Color starts an all-new season with the intriguing adventure, The Legend of the Boy and the Eagle. Next, The Mothers-in-Law. Eve Arden and Kay Ballard are back for more fun. It all happens Sunday during television's biggest week.
Is it so beautiful? I never seen nothing like a beautiful.
You gotta go to taste.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Like I said, that tornado warning stuff that was going on early really threw things off tonight. Forgot to put the new intermission video up there. So it was same thing from last night. And then I was like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just jump through this. So the Madman says, would love to see something from Pinnacle Entertainment. They have a few things in the works. And I see they and other Savage World groups follow you on the Bird app. Yes, on Twitter. Strangely enough, I don't have really much of a relationship with Pinnacle Entertainment Group. I will reach out, though. I will see what we can do. But I don't know. Anyway, we will see. But thank you for asking about that. Do me a favor, put that in the comment section for me, Madman, just because it'll be more of a reminder for me in the comment section than it is just sitting here in chat. All right. So tonight I am going to unbox and take a first look at dun, 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 The British Way from GMT Games. It is designed by Stephen Rangazis. Taking a stab on that. I probably messed that up. Graphic design is provided by Matthew Wallhead. There are 4 games in this box. They are for 1 or 2 players, ages 14 and up. They play in around 1 to 2 hours each. And this set carries an MSRP of $79. So let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got The British Way. So I do want to mention, before we jump on in, the fine folks over at GMT Games were kind enough to provide me with this review copy. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. These days, it's important for you to know that. All right, let's take a look at the back here. And I do see that Flaming Huron is with us. Good to see you. So Kevin King said, sounds like Jim Henson. I'll never look at Kermit the same way. Yes, Wilkins was voiced by Jim Henson. The British Way, counterinsurgency. You know what? I'm going to get rid of this shrink wrap. Make life a little bit easier. Get rid of a little bit of that glare. All right. The British Way, counterinsurgency at the end of Empire, is the first coin multi-pack containing 4 separate games that depict colonial emergencies in the final years of the British Empire. Each game is playable separately by 2 players, or all 4 games can be combined into an end of empire campaign that charts the progression of British decolonization and includes events occurring elsewhere in the empire. The games are designed to depict the full range of strategies used by the British during these conflicts, from the more benevolent but still coercive provision of material benefits through pacification programs to the horrific measures used to gain control over the local population. It goes on to talk about what games are in this, which we're going to take a look at. So let's get this open. So we've got our campaign booklet. Take a look at that. Well, you know what? Let's look at the rules of play first. Oh, wow. We've got rules of play for each. So we've got Palestine, Cyprus, Malaya, and Kenya. Wow. I was not expecting rules of play for each of these games. Kind of interesting. Okay, so let's quickly take a look through each of these. The British Way Palestine focuses on the British counterinsurgency effort against the Jewish insurgency from the end of World War II in August 1945 to the British decision to leave Palestine in September 1947. Game focuses on the counterinsurgency and counterterrorism aspects of the conflict, particularly against the Irgun and Lehi organizations. It does not directly model the wider political struggles between the British, Jewish agency, and Arab political groups, or the civil war that began in November 1947. And of course, we are going to be taking a look at all the components in that. So it does look as if each of these games are going to utilize a small board. So you're not going to need a lot of table real estate, I don't think. So taking a look at the different components, sequence of play. Now, one of the aspects of coin games that I think is pretty interesting, and I don't think it's going to change here, is that you can kind of get an idea of the who's going to go first in the round. Well, maybe it's a little different with this because these are for 2 players, but most of the coin games are for more than 2, usually 4. And it's kind of interesting how the event cards will actually show you the kind of turn order that's coming up. Now, the complexity for this is marked as a 4 out of 9. So I point out all the time that I feel that GMT kind of undersells the complexity of their games by a little bit, not a ton. And this is actually relatively low on the scale of complexities. Kind of taking a peek through. And then this is one of the cool things I always like about many GMT games. The event cards we're getting information, we're getting background about what does this represent. But it's also giving us some tips as far as using the cards. Wow, that's kind of cool. I like that. I don't think that's every one of these events. Now we get a little strategy guide. I am very impressed that GMT put together separate rule books. I think that's very cool because, to be honest, most companies would have taken the games, put it in one big rule book, and try to give you, okay, here are their core mechanics, and then here are the changes that each of these games make to those core mechanics. Kabuki Kid asks, same designer on all 4 games? Yes. It is not Voko Runki. So, not that there's anything wrong with that, because there are a lot of games of the coin series that Voko has not designed. Okay, so the British Way Cyprus focuses on the British counterinsurgency effort against the Greek Cypriot EOKA insurgency from November 1955 to the signing of the London Zurich Agreements in 1959 that established the Republic of Cyprus as an independent state. EOKA, and not even going to try to pronounce that, or the National Organization of Cypriot Fighters, sought to force Britain into granting, what is it? Enesis? Or union with Greece, and was not satisfied by the offer of an independent Cyprus. The game focuses on the counterinsurgency and counterterrorism aspects of British operations against EOKA in Cyprus. Got to be honest, this is something that I know zero about. So, Kevin King says it appears that they can't comment on the video. That's kind of weird. If any are at Gen Con, be interested in Free League. Yes, already set up. Pinnacle, Artel Saurian, I am going to reach out. Evil Hat, that's another game company that I don't really have much connection with. Goodman Games has no interest in doing interviews. I've tried that umpteen times. Now, some of the designers and things like that, yeah, they're more than interested to talk to somebody. But Goodman Games as a whole, the attempts I have made to do interviews with them have come to naught. Paizo is a given. So yes, there will be Paizo interviews. I don't know if it'll be with Eric Mona or not. But yes, there will be interviews with Paizo. So most of those I've got covered. So Kabuki Kiss says maybe you can't comment below the video. You won't be able to, while this is still live, you're only able to interact in chat at the moment. Yeah, I didn't know that. All right, once again, we get our sequence of play. Get our special activities. So special activities for the British: restore, diplomacy, interrogate. And the EOKA: smuggle, infiltrate, propagandize. Talking about events and victory. But as you can see, the rules for each, the actual rules for each of the games so far are about 8 pages. So we get an example of play. Very nice to see that. And it's relatively detailed. Then we get our event tips and background on the events, like we just saw in the other Palestine rulebook. And a bit of a strategy guide. All right, so that is Cyprus. Let's take a look at Malaya. It's 48-60. The British Way Malaya focuses on the British counterinsurgency effort against the Malayan Communist Party, the MCP, from June 1948 through to the official end of the Malayan emergency in July 1960. Although by the middle of the 1950s, it was already becoming clear that the MCP had little chance of winning, and so the game can be considered to focus primarily on the earlier stages of this conflict. The game focuses on the counterinsurgency aspects of the conflict in rural areas of the Malayan Peninsula and does not directly model the suppression and struggle of militant trade union movements that took place at the same time in Kuala Lumpur and Singapore. All right, so just taking a peek through here. So British operations in this one is train, garrison, sweep, and assault. And the NCP can rally, march, attack, and terror. And then we have some special activities as well. So special activities for the British: resettle, as well as reprisals and airstrikes. And special activities for the MCP: extort, intimidate, and ambush. And once again, we're getting our events an example of play, and we'll get those tips and background. Nice. Very cool. And we wrap up with a bit of a strategy guide. And as Kabuki Kid asked, it's Stephen Rangazis, who is the designer of these 4 small scale coin games. So let's take a look at this one is Kenya. The British Way, Kenya, focuses on the British counterinsurgency effort against the Mau Mau in the central province of Kenya from October 1952 through to their effective defeat in 1956, although the Kenyan emergency officially continued until 1960, with a small number of Mau Mau still fighting. The game focuses on the counterinsurgency aspects of the conflict in rural areas and the mass population resettlement and detention conducted by the British during the emergency, known colloquially as the pipeline. It does not focus in so much detail on urban unrest and protests during this period, although Nairobi is featured on the map. All right. So our British operations are deploy, relocate, sweep, and assault. The Mau Mau operations are rally, march, and terror. Well, very similar to the previous game. Special activities for the British, reward and reprisal, as well as airstrike. And the special activities for Mau Mau is supply, oath, and raid. Let me get our 4-page example of play. Yes, it is. And then on to our background and tips. Yep. This is also another aspect of British history that I know nothing about. We wrap up with a strategy guide, which is actually by someone who is not the designer. I noticed it's Joe Dewhurst. It looks like they share a little strategy guide for each of the games. So then we got the campaign booklet. So this is if you want, I'm taking a guess, if you want to play all 4 games as a campaign. It says this booklet also includes rules for a linked End of Empire campaign that allows you to play each game in historical sequence with additional campaign events that impact gameplay and, along with the outcome of the games, determine the outcome of British decolonization between 1945 and 1960. Campaign rules also include a pre-war options table for each game, which can be used to determine a variable setup for both campaign and regular play. So we've got, I guess there's a campaign deck, imperial prestige, and colonial policy. Talking about different events. Here are the pre-war option tables if you want to change up the starting situation. So that's one. We've got notes about the event cards that are being used in the campaign, as well as notes on the pre-war tables. And then it looks as if this is going to be just information about the historic period. Nice. It looks like each of the games has a bit devoted to it. So really, the additional rules are only, I don't know, 4 pages, because a lot of it is talking about the events for the campaign game. So that's kind of cool. Then we get designer notes. So talking about What's different than other games of the coin series? Got developer notes. So that's who the author of the little strategy sections for each of the games, Joe Dewhurst, is. He was the developer on this. Okay, so and then we get a quick start guide here as well. It says returning coin series players are advised to abandon their preconceptions and carefully study the rules for each game in this multi-pack before beginning to play, or at the very least, to read this quick start guide and refer to the rules whenever anything seems unfamiliar or unclear. Cool. The coin games are very unique, and no two are alike. I mean, they do share some kind of core mechanics, but they're very different. And I talk about this all the time for those people out there who are kind of like, yeah, I'd like to check out the coin series, but I don't know where to start. I always recommend Cuba Libre because it's small scale. It seems to be probably the most rules light to get you introduced to the system. Right. So then we've got some player aids for each of the games. So we have 2 for Palestine, 2 for Malaya, 2 for Kenya, and 2 for Cyprus. So I'm sure it's going to give each of the factions. Yep. So on the one side, we get, so as an example for Cyprus, we get the British operations as well as their special activities. And it explains what each of these happens to be. And then we have the EOKA. So, and I will point out, nice cardstock that these are printed on. So we also get some additional info here. So we've got a propaganda round for Palestine and Malaya, Kenya, and Cyprus. And then we've got a campaign tracker if you want to play the End of Empire campaign. All right, so the Madman's got a tornado watch up in the Detroit area. Yikes. Well, hopefully, for the next 6.5 hours. Jeez. That's nice. Yeah. Not a whole lot of sleep. So I believe the Madman's getting on out of here. So hope all is well and stay safe. All right, so then we get some counters. Give you a closer look at these. Dual-sided. It looks like we only have one counter sheet. And then we're going to start looking at the different boards. Here we've got our decks of cards. Take a look at those in a few. Couple of dice. And we've got a variety of tokens. We got cylinders. Looks like white pawns. So all these various different markers. And then, of course, we had the patented cool GMT insert, which is printed. Always like that. I'm going to put that back in. I'm going to put the dice back in. So let's take a look at each of the boards. And they look like they're dual-sided. They are. And as I mentioned, this isn't taking up a lot of table real estate. So here we've got Kenya. So there's that. Then here, we're going to change the layout. This is Cyprus. But as you can see, that these are just really small areas. A lot of times with coin games, you're looking at a big sprawling map. Not always. But this is looking to me like this is also a perfect gateway into the coin series. Not a ton of rules, pretty small scale conflicts, and playtime. I know it says 1 to 2 hours. I'm going to say you're probably looking at 2 hours or a little more when you're first learning. Okay, so this is going to be Palestine. There we go. And then we have Malaya. And it looks like this map has the most provinces on anything we've taken a look at. Not that I was counting them, but this does look like it does have the most provinces. Right, so those are the maps. Now, let's take a look at the cards. We're not going to look at all the cards, but we do have multiple decks here. So we're going to have the decks for each of the games as well as the campaign. All right, so Malaya, Palestine, the campaign. Damn, I just got a paper cut from one of the cards. That doesn't happen very often. Okay, so here's Cyprus. Kenya, do we have more? Yep, there we go. So actually, it's like 2 little decks here. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the cards from Palestine. So we've got the special relationship. Obviously, it's the United States. So it says if Palestine. Oh, well, I'm not going to get into it because it's like, I thought it was going to have a little bit of like flavor text, but it doesn't. It's all mechanical. So that's kind of cool. We've got photography on these cards. So there's Monty. So Kabuki Kid says, love how GMT mounts basically all their boards. Didn't always used to be the case. Every once in a while, we'll still see paper boards from GMT. And I know there are people out there who prefer to have paper boards. Many of them happen to live in areas that have really high humidity, which will tend to warp your board game boards. I'm just taking a peek at some of these here. So these were in Palestine. But because it's a 2-player game, I noticed we don't have the like the faction order on the cards, which makes sense. All right, so here we've got Malaya. We've got new villages. Gurney killed by communist bandits. It's a newspaper headline there. Special branch. British government. Unity of command. So we've got Cyprus. Appeals to UN. Radio Athens, Mountain Gangs, Kyrenia Castle Prison. Enjoy your stay. Turkish Police. Get a little Midnight Express there. No, thank you. A couple of propaganda cards. Then we've got Kenya. Operation Anvil. The Home Guard. Hooded Men. That's kind of weird. They're not really hoods. It's almost like they got blankets over them. Surrender Schemes. Protected Villages. So, one aspect I should mention with these coin games is that the designers, and I know I'm maybe talking a little bit out of turn here, but when they tackle these insurgencies and counterinsurgencies, it's not as if these designers are sitting there saying, or like this designer is saying, oh, well, good for the British. No, they're not excusing some of the horrific different approaches or strategies that the British took to quell these rebellions and insurgencies and things like that. So it's important to keep that in mind, that from my experience with the coin games, they're setting a scene, and they're not pulling punches historically either. So let's wrap up by looking at some of these campaign cards. So here we've got early period. So we've got the Partition, Gold Coast, Gangsters, Thugs, and Bandits, War Exhaustion. And then we have the late period, Nizaland. I don't know. I'm sure I just mispronounced that. Operation Musketeer. Stray Kismet's popping on in. Good to see you. Let's make a deal, Monty. Let's make a deal. Operation Legacy. And the Conservative Party. So that's just a look at some of the cards. And the card stock, very nice. Want to point out that you're going to want to sleeve these. I say that all the time. If you're going to be playing a game, more than a couple of times, I always recommend just spend a few cents, couple of cents on each card. Get a sleeve. All right. So I will also point out these cards do not have a linen finish. It's not normally something that we see from GMT anyway. All right. So just gonna pop these on in here. So we've got the multiple decks of cards, the various different tokens and markers, couple of 6-sided dice, the 2 dual-sided boards, punch board there, the various different player aids, as well as the campaign tracker there, the campaign booklet, the rules for Malaya, Cyprus, Palestine, and Kenya. And that is what we find when we take everything from the British way. Counterinsurgency at the end of Empire, outside the box. Do want to point out, it's usually fairly tough for me to get these sort of games to the table. I should, because this seems like it's lighter weight, I should be able to get at least one of these games played with my best friend, Elliot Miller. So looking forward to that. This looks very impressive. Once again, I'm going to point out that this looks like this is a perfect gateway into the coin series. And I know there are a lot of folks out there who are interested in the coin series of games from GMT who are a little frightened off by some of the rules complexity or just the sheer amount of rules. Does not look to be the case with the British way. As I had mentioned before, these are for 1 or 2 players, although I didn't really see any solitaire information. But the box does say, yeah. Oh, no, it says 2. Ah, see, I took the info from Board Game Geek. Once again, Board Game Geek incorrect. It's not unusual that their like information about a game is absolutely wrong. Anyway, it's not their fault. Because to be honest, I think you're looking at, don't users put the information in? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's moderators who do. Anyway, it is for 2 players, ages 14 and up. Each of these games play in around 2 hours. And you can pick this up for $79. As with all of the GMT games out there, if you have any interest in picking up the British way, do so now. Because I say it all the time, GMT Games does not have huge print runs. So when something sells out, it sells out. And you don't want to be sitting there waiting 2 years or more for a possible reprint, or having to go to the secondary market and paying top dollar for a game that you could have picked up at the regular MSRP. So keep that in mind. Tomorrow, we are going to dive on in and take a peek at Peculiar Discoveries for 5e Dungeons and Dragons from Dreamplot. And be sure to tune in because I'm going to tell you how you can win this limited edition copy of Peculiar Discoveries. And I should point out, I thought maybe I'm just not seeing it right. The pages of this actually have like, I thought it was supposed to be like eyes or something, but maybe I don't know. But as you can see, it's not just regular paper. So Kabuki Kid says room for a counter tray maybe in this box. If you took the insert out, yeah, easily. With the insert, no. The British way is just packed to the brim. William Aaron says, I guess the other end of colonial rule disasters such as Ghana and the partition of India will be dealt with in extensions to this game. There's another multi-pack for coin that I don't think it's out. Nah, I think it's on P500. I think it may have made the cut. I don't know if it's all like British colonialism, but it is another multi-pack, and I think it also has 4 games in it. So that is a possibility. So Scott says, so what you're saying is the page's edges are peculiar? Yes. Just like, I guess this is supposed to be their face. Like this, right? Those would be the eyebrows, the eyes. Maybe this is like their teeth. Oh, it's their teeth. That's what it is. It's their mouth. I think I see it now. I don't know. This looks fun, though. I shared a news piece about it last night. So I am going to be taking a peek into that on tomorrow's show. Also do want to mention big thanks to Chris Gonnerman for sending along the 4th edition of basic fantasy. So stay tuned. Actually, I should probably put it like this, because holding it like this is like, what is that, Jeff? Because it's being blocked out by the date. So yes, Chris Connerman was kind enough to send me the 4th edition of Basic Fantasy, and I will be featuring this shortly. Probably, of course, shouldn't say probably, definitely won't be until after I get back from Comic-Con, because remember, there are no shows of the Dispatch next week, because a week from tonight, I will be in San Diego. And in fact, a week from tonight, I will be at, ready for this, a party for I guess it's a Bollywood science fiction movie. Yes, you heard that right. And they're calling it, they haven't revealed the title. So I think it's going to be revealed at this party. It's a press party. And they're calling it spice punk, is like the genre is spice punk. I guess it's a big deal in India. So I don't know. We're going to check it out. Anyway, all righty. That is it for this time out. Of course, if you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ding that bell. Because not only is it going to let you know when the Dispatch streams live, Monday, Tuesday, and God damn it, I said Monday again. See? I was reaching over to grab something, so I was distracted. Yeah, that's my excuse. Damn you, tornado siren. Throwing everything off tonight. Damn you. I shouldn't say damn you. It's like, I'm glad we didn't get hit by a tornado. So Kevin says Spice Punk makes me think Dune plus Cyberpunk, but I'm sure it means something entirely different. Yeah, that'd be my guess too. Anyway, subscribe to the channel. What is the language I'm trying to speak here? Because it's sure shit not English. Subscribe to the channel so you can not only be informed when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings here on YouTube. We'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my first look at Elf King, the Immortal role-playing game from Lucid Eye Publications. This is what I was reaching over to try to grab, but it was buried under stuff. So as I'm saying, hey, be sure to subscribe to the, I'm reaching over and I'm like, okay, no, that ain't it. That ain't it. Because I can kind of see it peripherally. Dope. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you were watching live and took part in chat and survived tornado warnings, a big tip of the cap to you. Because not only do you keep me company, you're also keeping each other company as I'm like doing the unboxings and first looks and page throughs and so forth. But of course, I know a lot of you out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. It doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang YouTube channel. But don't forget, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more that you will not find here on the YouTube channel. Once again, thank you kindly for watching. I'll be back tomorrow with a look at Peculiar Discoveries. And enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. And of course, I certainly hope you get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, that's okay. You don't have to leave just yet. In fact, why don't you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel right here, or take a peek at the latest live stream, or even find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks again for watching.